My mom disappeared. Then I found a letter that changed everything. What started as a normal day turned into a nightmare. When my mom vanished without a trace, I thought our world was over. But a mysterious letter, a shadowy figure watching us, and a hidden truth about a secret hospital experiment pulled me into a fight for survival and justice. With my little brother and a group of unlikely allies, we uncovered corruption, danger, and secrets darker than I ever imagined. This is the story of family, poverty, and the courage to stand up when everything feels lost. Will we expose the truth before it's too late? Watch to find out. I always thought the worst day of my life was the one my mom didn't come home. It was a Tuesday. I remember because we had leftover meatloaf in the fridge, and Tuesday was always laundry day. I was 15, sitting in our small living room that doubled as a dining space, doing homework under the yellow light of a flickering lamp. My little brother, Evan, was passed out on the couch beside me, still in his school uniform. Mom said she'd only be gone an hour. She had to drop off some forms at the hospital where she worked as a part-time janitor. That was at 6:45 p.m. By 9 o'clock, I knew something was wrong. I tried calling her 3 times. Straight to voicemail. At first, I told myself she probably ran into someone she knew or got stuck behind paperwork. But by 10 o'clock, I was pacing the kitchen and checking out the front window every 2 minutes. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, her car still wasn't in the driveway. And there was no note. No text. Nothing. We didn't have a lot of people in our lives. Dad had taken off when I was 8. I barely remembered his voice. My mom worked long hours just to keep the lights on, and most of our family had either passed away or stopped talking to us years ago after some falling out I never got the full story on. I skipped school and took Evan with me to the police station. The woman at the front desk gave me a tired look, the kind you save for someone you think is overreacting. She said they couldn't file a missing person report until 48 hours had passed. Sometimes parents just need a break, she said with a soft, rehearsed smile. A break? I didn't know what to say to that. My mom never took breaks. We couldn't afford them. By the second night, I'd gone through every cabinet in the house looking for any sign of what happened. I checked her drawers, under her bed, even the trunk in the attic that she never let us touch. And that's when I found the letter. It was in a manila envelope, sealed with tape. Written in big black marker on the front were 3 words, for James only. James. That was me. Inside was a folded-up piece of notebook paper. Her handwriting was a mess, shaky and rushed. My hands were shaking too as I unfolded it and started reading. James, if you're reading this. I didn't want it to be like this. I sat down hard on the floor. My vision blurred. I've been keeping things from you and Evan, not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how to tell you. There are people after me. Bad people. And I made mistakes, ones I've tried to fix for years. If something happens to me, take care of your brother. Protect him. And don't trust anyone who shows up asking questions. They're not from the hospital. Please believe me. That was all. No signature. No details. Just that. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. I just sat there, feeling like the ground had fallen out from under me. I hid the letter in my backpack and didn't tell Evan. He was only 8. He wouldn't understand. And honestly, I barely did either. For the next few days, I did my best to keep things normal. I packed lunches, walked Evan to school, and made excuses for why Mom wasn't around. I even forged a couple notes to the school. It wasn't that hard. They'd never paid much attention to us anyway. But everything changed again when the man in the green jacket showed up. I first saw him standing across the street the following Tuesday, exactly 1 week since Mom disappeared. He wasn't doing anything, just leaning against a light post, smoking a cigarette. But something about the way he watched our house gave me a chill that didn't go away, even after I closed the curtains. He didn't knock or approach the door. He just stood there for an hour and left. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe he lived nearby. Maybe he was just waiting for someone. But then he came back the next day. Same time, same spot, just standing there like he had nothing better to do. That night, I finally called the number on the back of the letter, the one written in tiny ink at the very bottom of the page. I don't even know why I hadn't noticed it earlier. It looked like it had been added in a rush. When the line connected, a woman answered on the second ring. She didn't say hello, just a calm voice asking, "Where did you get this number?" I hesitated. My mom left it for me. Her name is Natalie Walker. There was a long pause on the other end. Then she asked, "Is she gone?" I didn't know how to answer that. "I think so," I finally said. "She disappeared last week." Another pause. Then, "Stay where you are. Don't talk to anyone. Someone will come by tomorrow." Click. That was it. No name, no explanation. And sure enough, the next day, there was a knock on the back door, not the front. A woman in her late 30s stood there, dressed in jeans and a black hoodie. She didn't look like a cop or anything official, but her eyes scanned everything like she was trained to spot threats. "You're James." I nodded. She stepped inside without waiting for an invite and locked the door behind her. "My name's Sierra. I used to know your mom. A long time ago." I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there while she walked into the kitchen like she'd been in the house before. "Where's your brother?" she asked, already scanning the fridge magnets like she was piecing together our entire life from what she saw. "School," I said quietly. She finally turned to me and softened just a bit. "Okay, good. We don't have a lot of time. Do you have the letter?" I pulled it from my backpack, unfolded and creased from how many times I'd read it. She looked over it quickly, nodded, then stuffed it into her pocket. Hey, I protested. That's mine. No, she said calmly. It's a message. And it's not safe here. I wanted to push back, but something in her voice told me she wasn't the kind of person you argued with. She moved like someone who'd been in danger more times than she could count. There's more to this than I can explain right now, she said. But your mom wasn't just running from someone. She was part of something. Like what? Sierra hesitated, then gave me a look that made my stomach twist. She was trying to expose something. Something big. And now that she's gone, that burden falls to you. Me? I was 15. I barely had money for lunch, let alone the energy to deal with some secret mission. But before I could respond, there was a knock at the front door. 3 sharp taps. Sierra froze. Her eyes darted to the window. Do not answer that, she hissed. I peeked through the blinds. It was the man in the green jacket. Only this time, he wasn't alone. There were 2 more people behind him, both dressed in gray, both holding something in their hands I couldn't quite see. Sierra pulled me back and whispered, upstairs. Now, get your brother's stuff and meet me in the back alley in 5 minutes. But no time. She shoved something into my hand, a small key attached to a strip of duct tape. You'll need this later. I didn't ask questions. I ran. By the time I grabbed Evan's backpack and a few essentials, Sierra had already disabled the back door alarm, one I didn't even know existed. We slipped out through the alley and disappeared into the maze of backyards and fences like ghosts. I didn't look back. At least, not then. We ended up in a place I never would have guessed still existed, a closed-down laundromat on the edge of town. The sign out front was so faded you could barely read it, and the windows were covered in newspaper from the inside. Sierra unlocked the side door using a key hidden in a busted-out dryer vent. Inside, it smelled like old soap and dust, but there were blankets laid out in the back, a small electric heater, even some canned food stacked in crates. Someone had clearly been using it as a hideout. Stay low, she said. Don't go near the windows. Evan was tired and confused. I told him we were going on a kind of adventure, just for a couple days, and Sierra backed me up without missing a beat. She gave him a granola bar and showed him a pile of comic books stashed in a plastic bin. Once he was settled, Sierra turned to me and lowered her voice. There's something you need to understand. Your mom, she wasn't just trying to protect you. She was trying to stop a leak, something dangerous. She came to us last year. Who's US? I asked. She gave me a flat look. We're the ones who used to believe in what she believed in. That people deserve the truth. That corruption should be exposed. But some of us stopped fighting. She didn't. I stared at her. You're talking like she was part of a spy movie or something. Sierra didn't laugh. Not a movie. Just the real world. Ugly and loud. Your mom got close to something she wasn't supposed to see. Something involving the hospital, yes, but it goes beyond that. She tried to collect evidence. Then she vanished. I pulled out the key she gave me earlier. She left me this. What's it for? Sierra took it, examined the tape around the metal. Looks like a storage unit key. There's a number written under the tape, see it? She peeled it gently and showed me. B47. Do you know where that is? I asked. She nodded slowly. Yeah, but it's not safe to go tonight. We camped out at the laundromat that night. Sierra took first watch. I tried to stay awake, but exhaustion caught up to me and I passed out curled beside Evan, listening to the soft hum of the heater. The next morning, Sierra took us to the edge of a quiet industrial area near the old freeway. Rows and rows of rusting storage units sat under a gray sky. Everything felt abandoned. Forgotten. Unit B47 was all the way in the back. Sierra unlocked it while keeping an eye on the street. The moment the door rolled up, I knew my mom had been here. I could feel it. Inside were old file boxes, a taped-up laptop, a duffel bag, and a whiteboard covered in red marker notes, half-faded and smeared. Sierra scanned the boxes. She left this for you, which means she trusted you with the truth. I opened the duffel bag first. There was cash. At least a few $1,000s in small bills. A prepaid flip phone. A notebook. And at the very bottom, photos. They were black and white, printed from a home printer. But the faces in them were clear. Men in suits. One of them I recognized. He'd been on TV recently, part of some local housing development deal. Another was in a hospital lab coat. The third one made my stomach twist. He was the man in the green jacket. Only in this photo, he wasn't on the street. He was standing next to my mom. She looked younger. Healthier. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They were smiling. She had her arm around him. Sierra took one glance and her mouth tightened. You didn't know? Know what? I asked, my throat dry. That man. His name's Carter. He wasn't just following you. He used to work with your mom. They were close. Some said too close. I stared at the photo. So why is he chasing us now? Sierra looked me dead in the eye. Because your mom probably found out something she wasn't supposed to about him. And if she trusted you with this storage unit, that means he wants what's in here, too. My hands were shaking. I picked up the notebook and opened to the first page. It was titled, If Anything Happens to Me, Start Here. The notebook was filled with scribbles, dates, names, even sketches of maps and buildings. None of it made sense at first, just pages of messy handwriting and underlined words. But Sierra flipped through it like it was a puzzle sheet already half solved. She was tracking something, she murmured, tapping the margin where it said Lab B. Unauthorized shipments, March 18th, 3:22 a.m. Lab B, I said. That's the one behind the hospital. They used to do blood tests there. Sierra nodded. And apparently more than that. A sharp bang made us both freeze. It came from outside, something metallic slamming against one of the neighboring units. Sierra grabbed the laptop and notebook, stuffed them into a backpack, and handed me the duffel bag of cash. We have to go. Now. We ducked out the back through a gap in the fence and didn't stop moving until we reached an old train track behind the warehouse district. Sierra called someone on the flip phone using a code name. She didn't say my name, or Evan's. Only, package located. We're moving. That night, she took us to a tiny, dusty apartment above a thrift store. The windows were boarded up from the inside, and the front door had 3 separate locks. Once inside, I finally had a minute to breathe. Evan was snacking on crackers and watching cartoons on mute. He still didn't know the full story, and I wasn't sure I ever wanted him to. While he was distracted, Sierra and I powered up the old laptop. It booted with a code. Luckily, it was written on a sticky note inside the notebook. J plus E equals always short for James and Evan. That hit me harder than I expected. The desktop opened to one folder, Truth. Inside were dozens of video files, surveillance clips, audio recordings. Some labeled, others just random dates and numbers. Sierra opened one at random. It was a grainy video of what looked like a hospital hallway. A man in a white coat pushed a cart into a room marked Restricted Access. The timestamp read 3:22 a.m. March 18th. The same time written in the notebook. Another clip showed a conversation recorded through a phone. 2 voices, one was clearly my mom's. If they find out I copied the data, I'm gone, she said. The other voice was a man's. You need to drop this, not walk away while you still can. I can't. People are getting hurt. Sierra leaned forward, her face tense. She wasn't bluffing. She had real proof. A knock made us both jump. 3 slow taps. Then silence. I grabbed Evan's hand and backed into the hallway. Sierra crept to the peephole and swore under her breath. It's Carter, she whispered. How did he find us? I asked, heart pounding. Sierra didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a small flash drive from the laptop and shoved it into my hand. If I don't make it out of here, take this to the address written in the notebook, page 17. Got it. What are you talking about? He's not going to stop. You need to go. Before I could say anything else, she yanked open the closet door and shoved me and Evan inside. Don't make a sound. She closed it behind us just as the front door burst open. I couldn't see anything, but I heard it all. Footsteps. Furniture crashing. A shout. Then a struggle. And then silence. For what felt like hours, I didn't move. Neither did Evan. We just sat there, breathing as quietly as we could. When I finally peeked out, Sierra was gone. The apartment had been torn apart, couch flipped, drawers yanked out, laptop missing. But somehow, they hadn't found us. I held the flash drive tight in my fist. Whatever my mom had started, it wasn't over yet. I waited until morning to move. The sun was barely up when I eased the closet door open and stepped into the wrecked apartment. Evan followed, holding my hand tightly. His eyes were wide, but he didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The look on his face told me everything. He knew something was very wrong. Sierra was gone. No note, no blood, no sign of a struggle beyond the mess. Just gone. I searched the apartment from top to bottom, but the laptop and notebook were missing. All that remained was the flash drive and a crumpled piece of paper jammed into the corner of a drawer. It had been torn from a notepad and said only 2 things. They're watching the highways. Use the bus station. I didn't know if Sierra had left it or someone else, but it felt like a warning. I didn't have a car, and I sure wasn't going to try calling for a ride. I used the cash from the duffel bag to buy 2 bus tickets under fake names, a trick I picked up from watching too many spy shows, and told Evan we were visiting a friend of Mom's. We rode in silence, sitting near the back. Every time the bus pulled into a stop, I scanned the street, looking for the green jacket, looking for anyone who looked like they weren't just passing through. The address on page 17 of the notebook led us to a small house in a quiet neighborhood 2 towns over. It looked normal, a white porch, chipped blue shutters, a basketball hoop leaning against the garage. But when I knocked, the door opened before my hand even dropped. An older man stood there, gray hair, heavy coat, deep lines in his face. You must be Natalie's boy, he said. I nodded. He stepped aside. Come in. Quick. The inside of the house was like a time capsule, old furniture, a smell of coffee and wood polish, a radio playing softly in the kitchen. Evan sat on the couch while I explained everything to the man, whose name was Grady. He used to work with my mom. Not at the hospital before that. She and I, he said, lowering his voice, we were part of a little group that didn't trust what we were seeing. There were too many disappearances. Too many medical records that didn't add up. He poured tea into 2 mismatched mugs and slid one across the table to me. Your mom found out about a private donor funding experimental research. Supposed to be off the books. But it was happening right under the hospital's roof. Late-night shipments. Test results that never got filed. What kind of research? I asked. Human trials, he said. Unapproved. And dangerous. I stared at him. And they were covering it up? Worse, he said. They were profiting from it. I handed him the flash drive. She saved this. Told me to get it to you. Grady plugged it into his laptop. For a few minutes, all I heard were the quiet clicks of files opening, video clips buffering, text scrolling. Then he leaned back in his chair and let out a long breath. She got everything. Records, transfers, even footage from inside the lab. This could blow the whole thing open. I felt my chest tighten. Then let's do it. Let's show the police. He looked at me, steady but firm. The police are part of the problem. That's when I realized how deep it went. Grady made calls that night, burner phones, people he trusted, all of them with code names like Sierra used. We were in something way bigger than I had imagined. And as much as I wanted it all to be over, I knew it wasn't. 2 days later, the news broke. A whistleblower, anonymous, had leaked footage of the lab to an independent media group. Overnight, the hospital's administration was thrown into chaos. Half the board members resigned. The lab was raided, but no arrests were made. Not yet. That same morning, I got a call from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to. James, a voice said. It was low. Familiar. It's your mom. I nearly dropped the phone. Mom, I said, gripping it so tightly my fingers hurt. Is it really you? There was a pause. Then her voice, soft and worn. It's me, baby. I'm sorry I couldn't call sooner. I had to disappear. Where are you? Are you safe? I'm okay. For now. I've been moving around, hiding. I couldn't risk contacting you until I knew you and Evan were out of the house. I sank onto the floor, my heart racing. Evan looked up from across the room, sensing something was going on. I gave him a small nod to let him know it was okay. I thought. My throat tightened. I thought something happened to you. I know. And I hated leaving like that. But I needed you to find the letter. And I needed you to stay out of sight. We did, I said. We've been with Sierra and this guy named Grady. We found the storage unit. The flash drive. The notebook. Everything. There was another pause. Then a shaky breath from her end. You did better than I ever imagined. But why didn't you come back? I asked. You could have. I couldn't risk leading them to you, she cut in gently. Carter is still out there. And he's not working alone. Yeah, I noticed, I muttered. He tore through the apartment looking for us. I know. He's been watching the house since the day I left. I've been keeping tabs on him, too. I felt like I was living in a spy thriller. Only it wasn't cool or exciting. It was terrifying. What do we do now? I asked. Her voice changed. Firmer. More focused. There's one more thing I need you to do for me. Go back to the hospital. What? I nearly dropped the phone again. Why would I? Listen, she interrupted. In the back of the notebook, did you see the list of names? I remembered it. A full page of names, mostly first names or initials, some crossed out in red, others circled. It hadn't made any sense to me at the time. They're not just random people, she said. They were patients, volunteers, victims. Some of them disappeared. Others were paid to stay quiet. And one of them is still inside the hospital. Her name is Lacey. She's 17. Inside? I repeated. You mean, she's still being experimented on? I don't know what they're doing to her. But if she's still there, and she's conscious, she's the last witness. Grady walked into the room at that moment, holding a mug of coffee. I covered the phone and whispered, it's my mom. His eyes widened. I put her on speaker. I need Grady's help, she said. He'll know the back way into the hospital. The tunnels haven't changed. Grady gave a slow nod. I know the route, but it's risky. We don't have a choice, Mom said. If Lacey talks, if we get her out, we have enough to force federal attention. And then what? I asked. What happens to you? She paused again. I'll turn myself in. Testify. Come clean about what I knew. It's the only way to shut this down for good. It felt like everything was falling into place and falling apart all at once. That night, Grady took us to the edge of the hospital property under the cover of darkness. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a shed, locked with a rusted gate. He picked it with a screwdriver and led us down a concrete slope, flashlight in hand. The air was damp, cold. The tunnel stretched forever, pipes rattling above us like old bones. We moved fast and quiet. Grady stopped at a metal door near the far end. This opens into the basement. If they're keeping her anywhere, it'll be in the restricted ward. He glanced at me. You don't have to do this. I swallowed hard. Yeah, I do. He stayed behind with Evan while I crept through the door. My palms were sweating. Every step echoed. I found the hallway. Empty. Then I heard a voice. Faint. Weak. Hello? Is someone there? I followed the sound. There she was, Lacey. Pale, thin, sitting on a bed in a room with no windows. Her wrist was wrapped in medical tape, and there were wires hooked up to machines I didn't recognize. She looked at me like I was a ghost. Who are you? I stepped inside. I'm James. I'm here to get you out. Lacey blinked, like she couldn't quite believe I was real. Her voice was hoarse. They told me nobody was coming. I moved to her side, carefully checking the wires connected to her arms and chest. Some looked medical, but others. I had no clue what they were for. One wire ran to a small black box with blinking lights and a code panel on the front. We don't have much time, I whispered. Can you walk? She tried to stand, but her legs shook. I think so. I glanced at the door. No alarms, no cameras in sight. But something about the silence was too perfect. Like the calm before a storm. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the key Sierra had given me. It wasn't for a lock. It was for the box. The moment I clicked it in, the blinking lights turned green, and the machine powered down. Lacey sagged like something invisible had been pulling on her. Her eyes cleared up almost immediately. Whatever that thing was, she muttered, it kept me from thinking straight. I helped her to her feet, and we moved quietly into the hall. Every step felt like it echoed through my chest. I kept waiting for the alarm, for a shout, for someone to appear. But the halls were empty. Too empty. We made it halfway back to the tunnel door when the red lights began flashing. A siren blared, not loud, but sharp and controlled. Whoever was in charge knew exactly what was happening. They know, I hissed, pulling Lacey faster. When we burst through the metal door into the tunnel, Grady was already waiting with Evan, flashlight in hand. Go, go, he shouted. We ran. Lacey's breathing was ragged, but she kept moving. We made it out the gate, across the field, and into the woods behind the hospital. Then I saw the headlights. 2 black SUVs pulled up on the service road, blocking the path ahead. Grady pushed us behind a tree and pulled out a phone. They're here. I thought you said this place was off the radar. I yelled. They must have tracked her vitals, he snapped. That box, whatever it was keeping her hidden. You pulled the plug, they noticed. The vehicle stopped. Men got out, dark suits, earpieces, flashlights sweeping through the trees. And leading them was the man in the green jacket. Carter, my mom's old friend. The traitor. Grady handed me a flash drive, not the original, but a second copy. Take this. Run to the address on page 22 of the notebook. The cabin near the lake. Someone will be waiting. Don't stop for anything. What about you? I'll hold them off. But go. He didn't wait. He stepped out from behind the trees and fired a flare gun straight into the air. A blinding red light lit up the forest. Carter shouted there. Grady drew their attention while we ran, me, Evan, and Lacey sprinting through the woods, crashing through branches and roots. My legs were on fire. My lungs burned. But I didn't stop. Behind us, I heard shouting. Then silence. Then gunfire. I didn't look back. We made it to the highway and flagged down a passing truck. The driver, an older woman named Deb, didn't ask questions. Just took one look at us and said, get in. We rode in silence, the flash drive burning a hole in my pocket. By the time we reached the lake, the sky was just starting to brighten. The cabin was there, old, quiet, and safe. And when we stepped inside, my mom was waiting. She looked different, thinner, tired. Her dark hair was tied back, and her clothes hung a little looser. But the second she saw us, something in her face lit up, like all the fear and weight she'd been carrying dropped in that one moment. James, she whispered, stepping forward. Evan. I didn't wait. I ran into her arms, pulling Evan with me. We stayed there for a long time, not saying anything, just holding on. When we finally pulled apart, she turned to Lacey. You're even braver than I thought. Lacey gave a weak smile. I'd almost forgotten what the sky looked like. We sat around the small table in the kitchen, blinds drawn tight. Mom made tea, like it was any other day, and spread out the contents of the flash drive and the backup Grady had given me. Her hands were steady, but I saw the pain in her eyes. Grady? She asked. I shook my head slowly. He stayed behind. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't cry. She just nodded. He knew what was at stake. Then she opened a black binder filled with maps, contact info, press names, and coded notes. Carter's not just part of this, she said. He's the connection. He's been funneling people into that hospital program for years, through fake clinical trials, fake housing programs, even youth rehab centers. Most of the victims had no one to fight for them. Lacey nodded. Some were promised help. Others were just taken. We have to stop it, I said. We have everything now, right? Mom looked at me. Almost. The one thing missing? A witness on the record. Lacey stared down at her tea. You mean me? You're the only one who made it out. Lacey didn't flinch. Then let's do it. Mom picked up an old flip phone and dialed a number from memory. I've been in touch with someone from a media outlet off the grid. They're waiting for us in the city. If we can get Lacey there safely and hand over this drive, there'll be no turning back. What about the police? I asked. They're compromised. But if the story goes public first, the pressure will force them to act. We spent the rest of the day planning. The cabin had an old SUV in the garage, dusty but working. We'd take back roads, avoid towns, keep the flash drive hidden at all times. Before we left, my mom pulled me aside. You did everything right, she said quietly. You protected Evan. You followed the clues. You're stronger than I ever was. I didn't feel strong. I felt scared. But I nodded anyway. That night, we left. The drive was long and tense. Every car that passed made my pulse spike. Every gas stop felt like a trap. But we made it to the edge of the city by dawn. The meeting point was an abandoned bookstore. A woman with short blonde hair and a messenger bag met us in the alley behind it. You must be Lacey, she said gently. I'm Zoe. I've got everything set, cameras, mics, the works. Lacey hesitated for just a second. Then she stepped forward and said, let's do this. They recorded the interview in one take. Lacey told everything, the fake trials, the injections, the experiments, the disappearances. She cried once, but she didn't stop. Then Zoe turned to my mom. Do you want to give your statement too? She nodded. I have a lot to say. They uploaded the video immediately, not to one site, but everywhere. Dozens of backup copies. Within minutes, the footage started spreading. It didn't take long for everything to explode. The video went viral. News stations picked it up. Politicians made statements. Protesters gathered outside the hospital. The board was dismantled. The lab was shut down. Investigations were launched at the state and federal level. And Carter? He vanished. In the days that followed, our lives changed in ways I never imagined. For the first time in years, people cared. Journalists camped outside the hospital, digging into records. Families of missing patients came forward. A class action lawsuit was filed. The government promised a full investigation, top priority, they said. And Lacey? She became the face of it all. She did more interviews. She told her story again and again, each time clearer, stronger. Her courage sparked something. Others who had stayed silent started speaking up. The truth was finally crawling out from the shadows. But even as the headlines blared and the public raged, we were still looking over our shoulders. Carter hadn't been seen since the night we escaped. No camera caught him. No agent could track him. He just disappeared, like he'd never existed. And if my mom was right about how deep his reach went, he could be anywhere. We couldn't go back to our old lives. Mom moved us to a different state under new names. Lacey came with us, not because she had to, but because she had nowhere else to go. We became a kind of makeshift family. Me, Evan, Mom, and Lacey. We lived in a small house by a lake. Quiet. Out of the way. It wasn't perfect, money was tight, and every strange car made us tense, but we had each other. And for the first time in a long time, we felt safe. Almost. One night, about 6 months after the leak, I was walking Evan to the mailbox when I noticed something sticking out from between the pages of the local paper. A note. No envelope. Just a folded piece of lined paper, torn at the edges. In all capital letters, it said, "You woke them up." There was no name, no address, nothing else. I froze. Evan was still talking about something, a math test or a comic book. I don't even remember, but all I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears. I didn't tell Mom right away. I waited until Evan went to bed, then showed her the note. Her face went pale. "They found us," she said. We debated what to do. Run again? Go to the media? But something about the note felt different. Not like Carter's style. No threats. No demands. Just a warning. You woke them up. Mom believed it wasn't about us specifically, it was about what we uncovered. What we exposed was just one piece of something bigger. Carter was just a cog in a much larger machine. And now that machine was aware of us. But instead of hiding, we decided something else. We would stay. We would watch. We would listen. And if we ever saw signs of the same corruption starting again, we'd shine a light on it before it could take root. Mom went back to school online. I started writing. Lacey volunteered at a recovery clinic. Evan finally got to be a kid again for real this time. And me? I kept the flash drive. I made a few copies. Locked them away. Just in case. Because the truth is, what happened to us could have happened to anyone. And maybe, just maybe, someone else out there needs a story like ours to know they're not alone. Life didn't suddenly become easy after all of this. If anything, it got more complicated. Trust became a rare currency. Every new face made me question their motives. But through all the chaos, we learned something important. Family isn't just blood. It's who shows up when the world tries to break you. My mom, Evan, Lacey, and I, we became each other's home. We held on to the hope that the nightmare was over, but stayed ready for whatever came next. I kept writing our story, not for fame or money, but so it wouldn't be forgotten. For anyone out there who's struggling in silence, drowning in poverty or family problems, feeling invisible, I want you to know this. No matter how dark things get, there's a way forward. Sometimes it takes losing everything to find out what really matters. And sometimes, the hardest battles bring out the strongest parts of us. Thanks for listening. If you're still here, I hope our story gives you a little hope to keep fighting. Because in the end, that's what family is.